Good afternoon, Muskegon.
Good afternoon.
This is Tony Williams.
And Chauncey Williams. With What Do I Do Now, your guide to credit, debt, and planning for your financial success.
All right, Chauncey. School year winding down.
Yeah, it's fourth
Life
quarter.
is about to change.
Yes, it is. Oh, we still got
good.
We know life is still good because there's still some basketball.
Oh, my goodness. Is there some basketball or what?
Yes, if you look at the way things are shaped out, everybody thinking it's going to be a LeBron and a Stephen Curry type of final. The way it's looking right now, LeBron is tied up and Curry in the hole. 3-1?
3-1, man. And, of course, all the procrastinators, professionals were saying it was a lock. They was going to walk through OKC and Cleveland was going to dispatch of Toronto in 4. So that tells you about these experts, don't it?
Yeah, and OKC don't even supposed to be there. That's what they said.
Right.
They're supposed to be in San Antonio.
Right. So they took down one giant and then went after the next giant.
Now they playing at the level of ball that they played when they made the finals that one year when they lost to LeBron. Then Westbrook is leading them now instead of Durant.
Ooh-wee.
Westbrook got a personality like no other either.
Okay. He's playing like an MVP.
Yeah, I think to me, I like Curry.
Yeah.
I like LeBron. But all of the former players that played, they always say Westbrook. Kobe be like Westbrook. Michael Jordan be like Westbrook. Mm-hmm. It's like he has that mindset and that nature like, you can't take this from me. I run this team.
Yeah.
And Kevin Durant, like he the man. I'm just with him.
I'm gonna roll with this guy, man, because he is performing.
He's performing.
After the first game, he said at the post game interview, he said, "I blew this. I made the mistake. I took too many shots. I will fix it."
That's right.
And did he
fix
ever?
It? They down 3-1, and then the last 2 games was blowouts.
Yeah, they were blowouts, man.
Against the team that won 73 games?
73 games.
Now, they won 73 games, right? They didn't play in the NBDL. They come back.
No,
they didn't
it was all NBA games.
Okay, it was all. It wasn't like, okay, it was 73 games, and they the best team.
They're the best team. They set a record.
And they lost by 30. One game was 117-80 in the end of the third quarter.
Right.
Then the last time they played was like 118-94.
Last night.
Yeah, so this is
it's beginning to be a lopsided series. When you look at the score, a lopsided series. And then, you factor in the Draymond Green controversy and
the kick.
It kind of, pushing people to OKC. Everybody want to see a good, clean basketball. But when a guy resorts to those kind of tactics, it does take away from your level of professionalism that people see you at.
That's right, dirty behavior.
Yeah, and got away with one last night. Tripped a guy. And it was clearly intentional. He had lost the rock, and he was on the ground. Dude was going for the ball, man. He stuck his old foot out there and sure enough tripped him. But it was no call, and, hey.
And they got me kind of hurt because I'm a Spartan, and I always like Draymond Green. And plus, he's a Michigan product. Don't give us a bad name. Come on, Draymond.
Right.
Keep on playing the right way. Please don't give us a bad name.
The rest of the guys that went through the league, that pretty much all of them had really good careers.
Yeah, first-class guys.
Spartan
guys been first-class guys. Like, the model for us is Magic.
Yes.
Right? The businessman. Magic is like the model for all Spartans.
Yep.
Then you got Steve Smith following close second. Then you got the other guys. You got some old-school guys like Kevin Willis. That was good businessman and good people. But you didn't see them getting in too much of the negativity. Steve Smith had his time when he was with Miami Heat. When he was with the Spurs, he calmed down. Atlanta, he talked a lot of trash, but he never got to the point where he doing dirty plays.
No, I have to totally agree with that.
So he's stepping out of character, man. I don't know where you get that from.
Yeah, I don't know if it's success, and I'm not going to blame it on that, but sometimes that breeds a little arrogance, and then you act that way on the court, and it's just not good to see.
You're exactly right. So it's just something to stay away from and just keep it going. And on the other side, Kyle Lowry and
he showed up and showed out the other night.
Both of them showing out. Both of those little brothers. They little guards too. They small.
Yeah, they had Cleveland down by 20. Cleveland fought back, got the lead, right? And they couldn't hold it. Now, I had a conversation with a guy the other day, and we were talking about our guy, Kevin Love. I said,
liability.
He has been a liability. The guy off the bench is Shannon Fry.
Yes.
He has been playing
did he go to Arizona?
lights out.
He went to
Arizona.
Got the touch. He catching touch.
Yeah.
He's the replacement because what happens with Love is he's on the island. When they go into that one-on-one and he got to guard one of them brothers,
Yeah.
he can't stay in front of nobody.
Nope.
And if he not hitting the spot up jump shot, he's not going to kill you with no post moves. So if you bottle Kyrie Irving up, there's no penetration, and then J.R. Smith just want to pull up threes too.
Right.
So
if he's not hitting, then they don't even lay off. They lay off of him.
Yeah.
And which they have not been hitting the last 2 games, and Fry was the only real bright spot in my opinion.
The last game. And then you look at the team; they broke a record. They was 11-0. They beat Michael and them, and they beat Shaq and them in 2001.
He was on the roll.
Yeah, and they lost 2 games in a row. They might be about the playoffs after breaking the record.
It's a 3-game series now.
It's quick how things go to your head real fast.
Yeah.
You got to be humble, man, and live in your life in humility, even when you're at that level making millions of dollars.
Right. Yeah, you still got to play the game, and be on top of your game. Or teams like Toronto, which they're young. They don't have hardly any playoff experience, but they just had a will to win these last 2 games. So tonight is going to be interesting.
Yes, it is.
Because if the Cavs let one get away tonight, we could be seeing a Toronto OKC final.
Yeah. I know we do kick about sports and we just have a good time. But we here to talk about that financial stuff for our audience, and a lot of times we get people out in the public that come in, what we're doing, the work we're doing on the radio, and the information we're sharing, because we're both doing our homework, and plus we both listen to the community. That's what I do.
Yes.
And just thinking about summertime coming around, it's coming, it's on us. I notice one thing people do is they get new cars, or they upgrade their vehicles, or their kids, like we ready to go to a graduation, their kids are graduating from high school, so now it's time to look at their insurance policy differently, because somebody probably be taking a car to college.
Yep.
Or business leases start again, corporate leases. I know we were in your office last week talking about a corporate lease, and I just wanted to, go into that a little bit more, because I had some people actually approach me like, if someone had a corporate lease, looking at the liability on both sides of it. I remember you sharing some things with us on Friday when we were working, and you mentioned professional liability and liability just when you just have the building. And I would love for you to expand on that for people like pastors or business owners, but they're not owning the building. Mm-hmm. And in what capacity do those 2 liabilities work for and against a potential leaser of a building?
Okay, yeah, because that is it's quite common for ministries to lease buildings versus purchasing it on, especially a startup. A lot of startups actually will lease buildings. I think I probably got about 4 of them now that are ministries that lease their building. And yes, there's definitely a difference in liability when it comes to that, because you as the tenant, you do carry some liability. The owner or the leaser has some liability, and it all has to deal with the circumstances of the accusation of who's liable, okay? Because if you look at the term liability,
yes,
it's pretty clear, and it basically talks about the state of being legally responsible for something, the state of being liable for something such as payment of money for which a person's business is legally responsible, or someone or something that causes a problem.
Yep, I got one that says this type of insurance helps protect you financially if someone is injured by you or on your property. I remember the example you gave us, like if a pastor's in a church and the spirit do the altar call,
right?
And the spirit comes over someone, because I do believe in that, and I know you believe in that.
Absolutely.
And the pastor, as they call, lay hands on someone, and they don't have nobody behind them to catch them.
That's right.
So is that professional liability right there? Would that be?
Actually, that would come under common liability.
Okay. Now now explain the common from the professional one, because I know you did it a little bit, but I'll
give you a scenario of that. Yeah. Okay. We'll go ahead and finish up the notion of the liability from a common standpoint. If you were to go and request prayer and pastor lay hands on you.
Okay.
And a lot of times, like you said, people get slain in the spirit and they'll basically fall out. Now, in the event that no one was there to catch them, at that point, that person that laid hands on them becomes legally liable because they caused this action. Now, if they were to become injured, if they were to fall, hit their head, hurt their back, they could actually sue the ministry. Okay? There are tenants in the building. I mean, they don't own the building, so they are, at this point, liable for those actions. It's a little bit different if someone was coming to church and the sidewalk was icy or slippery, and the agreement was that the landlord or the leaseor maintained the parking lots, the steps where they got the ice removed and salted, and someone fell.
Yes.
Now the owner is liable. Okay, the owner of the building is liable because in the agreement, it's his responsibility to keep the sidewalks, the parking lot clear.
So that's the physical owner of the building.
Physical owner of the building, unless there's an agreement with them where the tenant is actually responsible.
Okay.
But 9 times out of 10, that is a maintenance function, and you can't get the owner of the building to be responsible for that.
Especially in the corporate lease, you get somebody to come out and they're shoveling and doing those things for the organization.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they are still legally liable for that building.
Yeah. So that would be done. That'd be done in a contract then.
Right. It's basically a business owner's policy, general liability.
Okay.
Okay. Then when you get into professional liability, which is more along the lines of malpractice.
Okay. So that's like giving somebody advice or consulting them and telling them to go in a certain direction.
Right.
So if it don't benefit them and they can be harmed or injured, or as a result someone can do some negligence, like in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So I know the example you gave us was let's say a couple is together and they get advice from a pastor or a counselor or someone of that capacity.
That's associated with the
counselor,
church.
Yes, or church, or that organization, and they go in and they get us some advice like, don't sever the relationship, stay together.
Right, especially if it's an abusive. It's known that it's an abusive relationship.
Okay.
Okay, and your recommendation is that to
stay
in this relationship and work through it. Okay, as a result of that,
all right,
one of those parties become injured or killed. That person that gave the advice now becomes liable from a legal standpoint, and the lawyer would take that case because of legal malpractice, because of the advice that you've given. That's why a lot of the church policies, and along with the abuse and molestation, there's policies now that certain churches require the various entities within the Church of God in Christ or Catholic Church or whatever. A lot of times those individuals have separate insurance policies versus a blanket policy, and they require those items in the policy
for them
to protect it
with their life insurance for the
with their protection.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so it can get very, very deep when you're talking about this liability issue, because at the end of the day, it's about you being sued for compensatory damages. All right, I think we all knew what happened with the Catholic Church.
Yes,
the years that they had neglected or looked the other way when it came to abuse among their parishioners. All right,
yes,
and sir. There were millions of dollars paid out to these individuals once the story broke. For years, it was just kept under wraps. But once the story broke, there were hundreds of individuals that came forward to talk about the atrocities, actually, of what took place.
So even with the Penn State, with the coaches, that's professional liability.
That
right?
is professional liability.
That's a coach in a capacity where you trust him to do his job. Whereas if it's at a camp, if it's coaching, he's supposed to do his job duties. And if it's outside of that and he does something negligent, the university is liable, the organization.
That's right. Because he's an agent. He represents that university. Now, and that's a really unique situation, okay? Because there were never players okay, Penn State players that say that they were molested.
That's right.
Okay, there were always these kids out of
Campus.
his mentor group.
That's right. His nonprofit.
Right.
So that's the professional liability capacity.
Right. So you got two things going on here. Although he still worked for Penn State.
Yes.
Okay, and he had his individual nonprofit situation going on over here. So those both became liable at that time, and that's why the NCAA took a strong position about that. And it's resurfaced now because some more information's come up about Penn State about Joe Paterno having prior knowledge of what went on.
Yes.
And didn't do anything about it. And
that's the professional liability on his behalf. I remember that.
Okay. Yeah, he got some skin in the game.
And it's still going like that because he knew.
And when he worked for him.
That's right. And he worked for him. But he was so good that he we on the roll right now. The program coming back. I don't want to.
Yeah, and that was like a closed society down in Happy Valley.
That's right.
Okay. There were things that went on within that football program.
Let him die in peace. Don't tarnish his image.
Well, we're just telling the truth.
Yep.
That never got to the public. Okay. Things would happen in the middle of the night, and a phone call would get made, and you never heard any more about it. Okay.
You're right.
But right now, the NCAA is reopening its investigation and potentially looking at the death penalty for Penn State.
And that's where you can't get no scholarships for what, like the next 3 or 4 years?
No, death penalty has only been invoked one time.
And that's the SMU
football program. Okay, they said it was just such rampant disregard for the rules, and so they shut them down, right? And this is what they're talking about at Penn State: shutting the program down, football, because of what took place with this new evidence that's come up, where what he was doing was pretty common knowledge all the way up the ranks.
And then that takes the whole professional liability case.
Everybody's in the pool now. Everybody gets sued now.
That's why the athletic director and everybody resigned.
That's why, they stepped down.
Because they know they was already liable. They was like, look, I don't even want to make it a personal thing with me. The university already taking the L financially.
Right.
So
and
now,
the university paid.
That's right. And I'm paid, and I'm a liable professional because I'm counseling, and I've appointed these people in these positions. Mm-hmm. So now, my professionalism and my ethics, that's the word.
That's it.
And that's where they can come at you, the ethics. And that's the biblical part of it right there. Like, you know better than that.
Right. Children. Talking about children.
We trusting you for years to be in a capacity to work in this organization, and you already know coming in what the university expectations. I can't get the name of the document I'm talking about. The doctrine for the university and what you're supposed to do and how you do your job duties, but it's also a doctrine that they have that they embody.
Yeah, it's like a hypocritical oath that doctors take.
Yep.
You're always going to look out for those that are less fortunate or poor or whatever, because the other caveat to this thing is, based on what our guy was doing, kind of bordered on the lines of human trafficking.
He was cycling them in.
By bringing these young kids
every summer
off the streets or whatever, and doing a mentoring program and actually abusing these kids is no more than what other folks out there do in human trafficking. That's the really dark underbelly of this thing, man.
He used his organization as the launching pad to get the whole thing in.
Yeah.
And an image. He built it, and he used the university as an image because he was a major coach in a major program. And he was good at what he did. He was great.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they won a lot of football games at Penn State, man.
He was the next guy up for the job, too.
Nobody wanted to tarnish him. They still upset because the statue came down.
Yeah, the statue came down.
Yeah.
And that hurt, though.
And that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, it's the right thing, because it's like you can't be thinking about no statue when somebody been violated is going to mess their life up forever.
And you had knowledge.
There's no amount of money that can replace that.
Yeah. No, these people are scarred for life. And that's why liability is such a big thing, because it holds folks accountable for what we employ them to do.
That's right. And that's why I was talking about at the university level. Like, this is your job expectation. If this happens, certain laws are held, and if you don't do that, you're going beyond your professionalism. Now you need to be out of there. And then now it's a lawsuit on this organization that hired you.
Right, and they paid big too.
Yeah,
they paid big, and it may not even be over. It may not be over. But there's, in every facet of commerce, of life, whatever we do, even as just homeowners, okay?
Yes.
Automobile owners, there's always a component of liability that says that you always must act in a reasonable manner when you're conducting business, when you're driving your car, when you're running your household, all these things, man. And if you don't, there's a price you pay. Because basically what liability equates to, when you neglect your ability to do it right, it equates to dollars.
How much is that worth when you don't do what you're supposed to do?
Yeah. I mean, it's no different than a guy owns rental property. Okay, he's a landlord, right? And there's a liability issue here as a landlord. So if you know that a front step is broke and you fail to fix it,
and you figured out how to walk around it,
somebody falls and they injure themselves,
you didn't got good at dodging it.
Okay. Man, I had a case the other day. Sean said, a woman called me on the phone. Landlord, she's a renter.
Yes.
And was giving me a story about how bad the living conditions were in the place that she was renting. And had contacted the landlord. He wouldn't do anything about it. I mean, it was like she told me that the rats had just taken over her place. Taking it over. Okay, not mice. Rats.
Them biggest cats.
She said she went in the hospital for, I think she had a rotator cuff, and was out of the house for like 3 or 4 days. Okay, and come back, and they were just everywhere. It took over. And
just 3 days?
In 3 days. But she said it already had been there, man. They was living in this house.
But she lived in the house too?
She lived in that house, man. I told her that's the first mistake. You need to get out that house. Okay?
She in the house with that Moses in the plague. The plague with the frogs and the animals. 3 days.
And I said, you know what? If you can't get your landlord to react to your concerns, there's always 2 ways to go at it. You can go downtown to the landlord tenants, or you can call Safe Build. Safe Build basically monitors rental properties in the city of Muskegon.
All they do is do an inspection.
They come in, do an inspection, and they shut it down. Okay? And that's all she had to do. But yeah, on his part, that's just pure neglect. And it happens so often that I know the folks at Safe Build give folks heartburn because they give me heartburn. But there are other people. It's just like any law. I mean, there are certain laws that don't affect us,
yes,
but they're on the books. And these people come in and they hold these landlords accountable for taking folks' money and putting them in these bad homes, man.
Slum lords.
Yeah.
So they got to be held liable too. You're right.
Right. So I mean, it's just no different when we go to the doctor, right? If you go to the doctor, they misdiagnose you, and it causes you some kind of undue pain and suffering.
So that's his professional liability insurance got to kick in.
So now you're suing, okay? And it's no different than going to a dentist, a doctor, a veterinarian even. If you feel like a veterinarian has misdiagnosed or did something that wasn't right to your pet, you can sue them. Any kind of, tradesman or whatever, they're reliable for the work that they do, and if they don't do it, you have the right to sue them. So liability is a big issue. I got one case I can give you an example about. It's an automobile situation. I might have even told you about it, and it is very common in our community where we'll go to these corner auto insurance places, and we want the cheapest product they have, okay, which in the state of Michigan is the 2040, okay. That's $20,000 liability for one person injured, or $40,000 if there's more than one. So I had this particular client that when she showed up, that's what she asked for, and I told her, no, I do not write 2040 in my office. The minimum is 100, 300. I suggest you actually get more, but that's the minimum. Okay, she didn't understand it, so I had to spend some time explaining to her what happens when you drive your vehicle and you injure somebody. You become liable. Now they can sue you. She allowed her son to drive her vehicle.
Yeah, you told me about this one. Yeah,
son runs a stop sign, hits an individual, and they wind up dying. they are liable.
And then they had a passenger in the car too.
And they had a passenger. His son was in the car.
But did they have 20/40, or you made them take?
Oh, she had 100/300.
She was happy when she saw you then.
Yeah. She wasn't happy,
I mean,
but she
wasn't
felt
happy.
better.
She felt better because somebody died in the process.
Yeah.
God
so
rest
at
their
least
soul.
the insurance company said, we're going to pay $300,000 on your behalf to those people that got injured by your son. Versus 40.
Versus 40.
That would have been the max if she had to use one of these corner
but
places.
Then, and you already know the kickback after you 20/40, it's some mobiles.
Oh, it's a judgment coming, okay? Because it's clearly, if you run a stop sign, you are definitely liable.
But then it's a lien on your property. Or
you got a
whatever
house.
Yep.
No, they taking that house. There's going to be a sign up on that house for sale. You're getting out of there, okay? And then whatever your weekly, bi-weekly, monthly paycheck might be,
garnishing that.
we're going to get a piece of that too, okay? What kind of retirement funds do you have set up already? Because we're going to come and get that too.
They can go on the reserves, like the pension?
Yes. Well, not your pension.
But they can go on the retirement.
But if you got an
IRA or something like that.
You got an IRA, an annuity, and there's cash available.
They come.
Okay, a pension is a defined pension that's going to get paid down the road.
Yes.
They can't touch that.
All right.
But if there's liquidity in any kind of investment fund that you got, they in there. So, yeah.
Just don't be happy, audience. Don't be. We talk about this liability. We talking about corporate leases, professional liability, liability if you have renting a property, liability if you driving your car.
Own a property.
Yeah, or if you driving a car, what are you held accountable for? You don't even have to be there. The liability if you just own the property.
Yes.
Like you said, the one with the rats. It's like 3 days. He came back. It's all these rats, and you got to tell the landlord he's liable.
He is liable.
Because he didn't keep up with the inspections.
Nope.
Because you're supposed to have the inspections, and then when the inspection comes, like, oh, you got to do this. This property. This is not inhabitable. You can't live here.
Can't live here. And if you get a lawyer and they prove that there was some pain and suffering that went on.
Oh, that's of course it is.
Okay. Yeah. So, liability is a big issue, and you have to value it. I mean, if you got anything going in life that you're trying to build wealth for, okay? I mean, if you're carefree, you don't care what tomorrow brings, it's not a good way to be. But if you are, then you don't value the resources that you've developed over the years, then you'll settle for those 20/40 policies. But if something were to happen for those few dollars more, you would see that was money well spent. Because we even talked about the umbrella.
Yes, the umbrella policy.
The liability of umbrella. If you are a homeowner, this time of the year, most folks will use other venues to have like an open house party. And, rarely have I ever seen any alcohol sold. But there is a liability issue when you serve alcohol. There's a liability issue when you invite people into a venue that you are providing them with food, beverages, and a good time. Most places will require you to have a liability policy prior to you holding that event.
Yeah, I got it right here. Like I know we was going to talk about it. It says, in addition to liability coverages that you have throughout your homeowners, auto insurance policies or business policies, you are very likely you should have an umbrella policy, liability policy, which is additional liability insurance added on top of the other coverages and covers attorney fees for claims arising from your non-business activities. You said parties. You have let somebody use your building. Like, oh, you can have it for this weekend, and somebody get hurt or they die.
Yeah, somebody spill a drink on the floor, somebody walk through, they slip, bust their head.
And you're like, oh, I run this, I use this building for my business, but like, what was they doing there this weekend?
You rented it out.
So it says that insurance can be sold in increments of $1 million.
Right, get $1 million. So if, say, for instance, you got $300,000 of homeowners liability, and you get sued for $500,000. Your homeowners would cover $300,000 of it, and the umbrella would cover the balance of $200,000.
So that's like that's a great example. Like, so if you at an open house and you at somewhere and it's like a nice building and somebody else own it, you would have to have.
Oh yeah. So it depends on. Sometimes they will allow you to have your homeowner's insurance follow you to that building.
Okay, because you have to have your policy. I've done that before. They're like, let us see your homeowner's policy or whatever insurance policy you have. Then if you got an umbrella coverage, we'll work with you. We got that. We'll connect with you.
Or you can buy the one-day event.
That's right. You can buy the one-day event insurance.
Buy the one-day event.
Yes, that's
insurance.
right.
But again, for the money that that you're spending in the event somebody did get hurt, slip, fall, you're going to be covered. So,
that's it.
So trust me, there are folks that understand this. Okay,
and they'll use it.
And they will use
They'll
it.
see. Look, I'm gonna share something with you. They'll use it. I've been places and seen people actually use it against them. Like in the movie, it's funny. It's a raunchy movie, but the movie Friday, the guy slipped in the floor because they was mopping the building. He say, "Oh, my neck and my back." He slipped and fell. It's people out there that's like that. That look for that liability. Like, oh, that's a wet spot right there. I can get some money.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a name brand business. They'll pay that quick $100,000 to me right away without going to court.
Yeah. A lot of times, when that happens, the business owner, he has an attorney. They make a phone call. He said, "Okay, offer the guy $25,000." A lot of times they go away unless there's some serious injuries going on. Most people will take that cash settlement.
Yes, they will. So it's good that we I know I was in your office Friday with some business partners, and we were just talking about this very subject, and then
you get these inquiries.
Yeah, and then I get some inquiries on our last show. We were talking about insurance, and then someone said, "Chauncey, what would happen for me if I'm a professional and I'm leasing a building?" I'm like, "I'm doing that. I'm getting ready to do the same thing."
Right.
And I just got through talking to Tony Williams about it. So, ladies and gentlemen, Tony Williams, he knows his business, and he's good at what he does. I'm telling you, we got open house time. You buying a new vehicle. Your kid graduating from high school, or they getting ready to come back in your house. You got to put them on as a driver. These are things that you need to know when you get ready to renew your auto insurance policies, your home policies. Look over that declarations page. Call somebody that's going to have a real conversation with you and not shortchange you and just try to save you some dollars. Because when they really save you some dollars, like he gave the example, the 2040, I don't want somebody trying to sell me no 2040. Tell me how I can afford the 100, 300. Minimum, so I can know that my family is safe and covered. That's the liability. That's what kind of insurance agent I want on my team. So, Tony, you probably need to give me your information
and
because
ask questions. Get an agent and ask questions. If you have a homeowner's policy or an auto policy, and you don't totally understand it, pick up the phone, make a phone call, and said, "Hey, I got some items on my insurance policy I don't quite understand. I want to know what they mean and how they pertain to me." Because there's probably about, on the declaration page, there's probably about 10 or 12 line items: underinsured, not insured, all that kind of stuff. You need to know about what that means to you and your policy. And I will answer any question you have. You do not have to be a client of mine. Okay, I just feel that's my job, that's my duty, to give people information and knowledge that ask for it. And if you want to call me, my phone number is 231-903-0314. And if you just Google Tony Williams, Farmers Insurance, it will bring up all my information on the webpage.
There it is right there, ladies and gentlemen. That's if you need information, it's that time of season. I know you're going to be thinking about a new car, probably upgrading your house. Things like that, you need to make sure that you check and look at your insurance policies.
Yeah, check for that insurance first, because I've had some cases where the insurance base, just because there's some circumstances that you didn't know about, and the insurance actually costs more than the car note per month.
Okay, well that's our show today, Tony. I'm Chauncey Williams,
and I'm Tony Williams.
This is What Do I Do Now? Your guide to credit, debt, and planning for your financial success with 103.7 The Beat.